Hello all, thank you for joining me on the channel for the first live episode. Today we're actually doing a compare and contrast of two of the biggest influential firearms in World War II. First thing first, we're going to go through some of the pros of each rifle, alright? So, here we have a Turkish Mauser, which is going to stand in for our standard Mauser rifle. It's longer than what was normally issued during World War II, but this one did see action in World War II, as you can tell by the battles marks. This one was manufactured in 1938, but it has a German bolt, so that's important. All right, and here is our Mosin stand-in to give the example. This one was manufactured in 1944. And as you may be able to tell, it's probably hard to tell from this distance, this one has all the standard characteristics of a late war Mauser. Simple things aren't finished, and it's just very rough around the edges. Next, let's compare the cartridges. Here we have the Mosin cartridge, which is a 7.62 by 54R. The R stands for rimmed. It's probably hard to tell in the camera here, but that is a rimmed cartridge. And here is the 8mm Mauser, or 7.92 by 57, and it's rimless. It's a lot more modern cartridge comparatively. And if you hold the two together, there's really not much difference. The Mosin cartridge is a bit shorter, a bit stubbier. This one is just more aesthetically pleasing in my opinion. Next, let's compare the bayonets. Here we have the German bayonet. It's got a Afrika Korps frog. But this bayonet, however, is from World War I, but there really wasn't much difference. They had the same button release. If I'm not mistaken, which I believe I'm right on this, most World War II German Mauser bayonets did not have the lug here, so that's one difference. It's actually a blade bayonet, which in my opinion is more useful. And here we have the Mosin bayonet, which is quite antiquated when you look at the two, because the spike bayonet, it was really hard to get out of the opponent. There's a reason it's considered a war crime now. It's hard to suture these things, which is probably why the Soviet soldiers used them, and continued to use them all the way up until the mid-80s with the SKS and its successor, the SKS, still used spike bayonets. It's a bit complicated to put on. I tried to, it takes quite a bit, but interesting fact about the Mosin was actually designed to be shot with the bayonet on, so you are more accurate if you're firing your Mosin with the bayonet on, because it compensates for the weight and the power of the 7.62 by 54R cartridge. So next, let's get to the cons of the Mosin Nagant. The bolt itself, the bolt action is quite sticky. In my opinion, it's a little clumsy. And yes, I do have my notebook here. Shit, did I already say that? And I didn't see it as nearly as smooth as the Mauser action, but there's a couple factors that could play into this. This is a late war Mauser. The tooling wasn't nearly as refined because they were pushing them out for the war effort. Also, fun fact about this Mosin was one of few that never got issued. Actually, when it was loaned to me, it still had cosmoline in it. That could be a big factor as well. Either way, I think it plays a role in the action of the rifle. The second biggest con I found was going back to the bayonet. Again, because of the war effort, because of it being issued late in the war, I'm pretty certain it wasn't intended this way, but the bayonet is not a good fit on the rifle. It is hard to put on, it's hard to take off. If you have like a hammer or something, you'll be able to get it off easy, but it's hard to do. And I saw some things going back and forth when I was researching the rifle. Next, we're going to talk about the maintenance of it. The rifle itself, if you're trying to just do a simple battlefield teardown where you take the bolt off, wash the rifle down, the Mosin is good for that. But outside of everything else, the bolt is complicated to take apart. At least from what I understand, or from what I try to do. The magazine is hard to clean. To do a deep clean on it, it is hard to do. And my last con for the Mosin is the simple design of it. It is going into a World War II where on the battlefield we started seeing semi-automatic and fully automatic rifles. It's hard to imagine that they still use this bolt style, because from all my research and from even you can see it from based on looking at it. For those who are familiar with the Gewehr 71, which was a German rifle issued during the expansion of the German Empire, this bolt resembles that rifle that bolt to a T. And so in my opinion, it's a little of an antiquated design, but again, we're talking about the Soviet Union here. The Soviets, if it works, it works. They don't really care about refining things. All right, next we're going to discuss the Mauser. So we're going to talk about the pros of the Mauser. And I believe I already talked a little bit about them in the cons of the other rifle, but we'll discuss it anyway. The action is a lot easier to use. It's a lot smoother. It's a lot friendlier to use. Now, there's a couple factors that could play into that as well. This is a early war Mauser. And it's clearly been shot way more than this one has. So the action could have been worked out. It's been used, so that makes a huge difference once it comes to the steel, once it comes to the action over time. In my opinion, the takedown is much simpler. You have everything attached to the rifle that you need to take it down. This little hole on the back of the rifle is actually useful in tearing down the bolt of the Mauser. You don't have to you don't have to grab something else, or you don't have to use an extra tool. It's all here. And when you go to clean out the magazine and the trigger system as a whole, it's actually screws. You don't have to wedge or force anything in. It's super simple. So as we look at the Mauser's bayonet, we can automatically see that it's got more practical uses than the Mosin bayonet. It's obviously a blade, which you can use for hunting, cooking, self-defense if you need to, outside of it being attached to the bayonet. Another nice thing about the bayonet here is that it is much simpler to put on the rifle, because it is a simple lock, slide on, and it's done. It's easy. And then when you want to take it off, it is, again, stupid simple. Let's go ahead and discuss the cons, because as much as I love the Mauser, there are some cons to it. The bolt itself is more complicated design. It's more intricate, it's more finicky, but again, that could come down to the age, that could come down to whatever, however the rifle was treated before I got my hands on it. It is heavier, which I know a lot of people in the gun world, ounces become pounds, pounds become weight, in that whole shtick. It is a heavy rifle. We're not going to argue that. And a lot of times they were not immediately issued with, at least in the Turkish military. I know this is stepping out of the Mauser and Mosin comparison, but a lot of Turkish Mausers you find do not have the cleaning rods. And I've read a lot, and there's some speculation that said they weren't issued with bayonets or issued with cleaning rods, as they had a problem with soldiers leaving them in their rifle and accidentally shooting them out. But I don't know if I believe that or not. That was just the issue with this direct rifle. In conclusion, they're both great service rifles for what they were designed for, and I'm not sure how to classify it, but I do believe the Mauser was the better bolt-action rifle of World War II. Not just in this comparison, but of all the bolt actions used during World War II and World War I for that matter. But that'll be a different video. However, if you compare the two side to side, it's pretty much a draw. If it really comes down to whichever rifle you are more comfortable with, whichever one you get more training time with, and which one you are comfortable with. It's a big key. Me personally, I am more comfortable with the Mauser. I know some people that are more comfortable with the Mosin, and that is completely okay. There are flaws with the Mosin that make me prefer the Mauser, but at the end of the day, they are both antiquated rifles, and I would not use them on a modern battlefield. As always, stay strong, watch your six. Thanks.